Meow, 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 Cantonese cat. I am Cantonese cat, meow, meow. Hey everybody, Cantonese cat. I want to go for a few fintech stocks. Gonna first start out with Affirm. I really think that it bottomed today. There was some pretty evil thing that had happened earlier this morning. You wake up to the price being down like 8 or 9%. Supposedly, there's like some fake news that they recycled from 2022 that Walmart was having their buy now pay later service. And there's going to be a lot of FUD that they may not use Affirm, and it turns out that you do a little bit of digging. That news was from like 2022. It is pretty shady. I think there's a possibility, and this is just speculation. I think there's a possibility where there might be some shorts. They're trying to close their shorts because they see the writing on the wall, and they just wanted to have some kind of exit strategy. So they might end up trying to get out of it pre-market. And here we are. We went from negative 8 or 9% pre-market all the way to like plus 2.5% close today. And there's a lot of technical indicators that tell me that I think it's going to go much higher, much sooner. And it might surprise a lot of people. Not a whole lot of people really pay attention to Affirm, but they really should. One thing is because Affirm is your quintessential stock where if you worry about rates being higher for longer, like Affirm really shouldn't be in the bull trend. If you worry about rates being higher for longer, if you're worrying about a recession coming, Affirm should not look like the way it does. What it is doing right now is clearly forming a higher high and is trying to find a higher low. And it's been finding higher low on 4 straight months on low volume, on very pathetic volume. Like this whole down move right here is absolutely pathetic. Like I look at it, I just laugh. Like how much further are you going to drag it down on low volume? I thought it was a good setup about last month when price was around the mid 30s, and sure enough, like price just kept dropping down on low volume and went up to like 29 range, and then it just bounced back up. Right now it's got back to around like the mid 30s or so. All this is happening on drastically declining volume. Like this downtrend over here is not sustainable, and whenever you just have a little bit of buying volume that comes in, price is going to push up so high, like it's not even funny. Like people are going to keep talking about firm. I hate pumping stocks because I'm not like a pumper. I don't care, but when I see a setup, when I see something I feel very strongly about, I'm going to talk very strongly about it. I don't want you to get into this because of me, because I could be wrong. All it takes is just another big giant selling volume coming in, or there's some kind of black swan event that comes, and this stock can potentially like tank all the way back to the single digits, right? But based on the current setup, based on what the whales are knowing, based on the whale behavior so far, I think they're laughing at the rates higher for longer narrative. I think this year is going to be a year for fintechs. And right now, the first quarter plus April really hasn't been kind to a stock like Affirm. But this is basically a very, very classic pattern where you have a nice cup and handle. The cup is being formed, it's breaking above a lot of these different resistance over here. It just gotten way too far, way too fast. And you just spent a few months going sideways and cooling down. Like, what's the big deal, right? If you look at the Fibonacci level from the all-time high, I'm just going to draw a rough one here from all-time high to the all-time low down here. You can totally see what has been happening. You can totally see that it's just been breaking above the 0.136 Fibonacci level on high volume, and it hit resistance right here on a 0.236 level around $50. And next thing you know, it kind of back tests the 0.136 Fibonacci level here on declining volume, so it's finding support over here. Like this is no like classic. I don't even know what else to say about it. The other thing is, if you want to pull up some other fancy indicators, sure, I can show you the Shimoku Cloud. It got a bullish cross over here. Of course it got a bullish cross because things have been bullish for a very, very long time here. It's been forming higher highs, higher low, higher high, and right now it's trying to find a higher low. You have the Tenkan crossing over the Kijun. Kijun is going down. And this month, last month, price tested the Tenkan and passed, right? I thought that would have been it. But no, like they decided to go for some evil stuff here, and they decided to tank it another month down low volume just to see how far it can go. Sure, I end up buying more. Like whatever, I don't care. You want to give it to me cheaper, I keep buying more. I end up using some money, some proceeds that I got from Metaport, and I bought more today. Whatever you want to do, I see a good opportunity. I buy it based on technical analysis. Basically, bounce from the Kijun, and it's trying to get back above the Tenkan right now. It's been flipping Tenkan line, the blue line right here, from resistance to support for quite some time. Right now it's just kind of back testing and support. I think it's going to hold, but there's no guarantee, but I think it's going to hold. Right now the Tenkan is at 33.07. price is around 32.9. It's getting pretty close. So far, because of the pathetic volume, I think eventually, even if it doesn't close right there this month, it goes down there a little bit. I think next month's probably going to go up, and over the next coming months, whenever you end up just having a little tiny bit of buying volume, like you did over here, probably going to go up like pretty high over time. I'm not really worried about the setup. I like the setup. You look at the Bollinger Band, it's basically a pretty nice bull trend. 20-month moving average is still crawling up. Price just kind of going sideways over here for about 5 months. So the Bollinger Band is starting to kind of contract a little bit, but it's still very nicely, strongly expanding. I think it's going to keep expanding. I think the 20-month moving average is going to keep crawling up. I think this is just perhaps the beginning of the bull market over here, based on what I'm seeing. And this is a pretty decent setup that I'm seeing here. If you pull up the weekly, you can see a couple of things. Again, like you can click on the weekly. This is ridiculous. So you can see this big giant breakout of this level over here on high volume. And so far, price just been going down on like super low volume here and forming a very nice bull flag over here, or a handle for this cup and handle pattern. I don't know what else to say about it. Okay, if you look at the Bollinger Band on the weekly, it's going to give you a very interesting pattern here. Price went from the upper Bollinger Band over here, formed a little bit of the tweezer top, went sideways. Like, look at how controlled the selling is on low volume. And it is balanced to the lower Bollinger Band over here. Right now it's forming a little bit of a tweezer bottom over here too. It looks like it might be ready to kind of bounce up sooner rather than later, or it really needs just a little bit of volume. That's all it needs. And I don't know when the volume comes. Could it continue to go sideways and keep going down? Sure. I can never guarantee these things, but I think based on Fibonacci level, based on horizontal support level over here, I think this, and also based on the lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly, I think this is probably going to be the local bottom. I think we're probably going to end up bouncing higher. And because I said I'm just jinxed ourselves, it might keep going down a lower volume. But if it keeps going down a lower volume, I'm going to keep buying. Like, this is a very clear bullish setup here for me. That's Affirm. Next up is Robinhood, and ticker symbol RHOOD. Robinhood has been doing quite well over the last 4 or 5 months or so. I mean, price really bounced from single digits all the way up to about 20, and it just went way too far, way too fast. What it's doing right now is just kind of cooling down a little bit sideways, back testing the upper Bollinger Band. You're not going to expect it to just keep going up forever, like without any kind of pullback. You're going to have to have some kind of pullback. This is exactly what it's doing. It hit this top volume shelf over here, got rejected, went back down, trying to test on the volume shelves down here. I think it's probably end up finding support around the zone over here. It's just right at the upper Bollinger Band. Things just kind of got a little bit way too far, way too fast on the upper Bollinger Band. It's just kind of back testing a little bit. And so far, it's actually finding support at the volume shelf right here. Top of this volume shelf around 17, bottom volume shelf around 15.5. I don't necessarily think it's going to go down to 15.5. I think that because the sell volume is just so poor, not really like a whole lot of people are really trying to sell this move, to be honest, like me included. I bought probably around like 12. I started accumulating around this range over here. I'm not selling. Like, this thing looks like it's going to go a lot higher. Whenever the volume starts to come in, whenever this thing is really ready to move, it can really move up to the 30s, in a hurry. Bam, bam, bam. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I think this year, 2024, is going to be the year for the fintechs. And I'm positioned for this. I own several stocks. This is one of them. The other way to look at this is, if you want to look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can. It had a very nice bullish cross over here, around a couple months ago, back in February. And the price is not even trying to get close to these bands down here. The Ichimoku cloud hasn't formed yet because it's still early. This is like the early Ichimoku cloud over here. But like, you're really seeing a very nice bullish cross. Price is still very impulsive up. And instead of looking at the Ichimoku cloud, you look at the Super Ichi, you can see that this is the Tenkan line for the Super Ichi cloud. And right now it's just basically flip it from like resistance to support. And it's looking like it's, basically having some pretty constructive price action over here. I do think that this might be all the cool down that you get before, further bullish continuation. And that says so this past weekend. If you look at the weekly chart, it's probably not going to give you too much information, to be completely honest. I don't really see any trend exhaustion based on looking at the price action over here. And if you look at how bullish the bullish trend is, 20 over 50 over 100, this is a very nice weekly bull trend. And right now, currently price, you can see very clearly price just kind of been bouncing between these kind of two volume shells, one up here and another one down here. It looks like it's bouncing so far. It's forming a little bit of an inside candle this week. We'll see how it goes, but I certainly think that there's a lot of bullishness here in Robinhood. I'm not adding anymore. I can see people want to wait for around like 13. A bunch of people probably want to wait for like around 13, 14 before adding more. I'm not sure if they get the chance. If you do, congratulations, good for you. Okay, but I'm gonna just I'm not gonna sell it where I have and try to buy it lower. That there's a risk that they may not get down there. So I mean, frankly, there's not really a whole lot to say about Robinhood. You can see some pretty clear, clear resistance level here, clear support levels over here. It's just basically went up, broke above this whole volume shelf right around here, all the way up there on pretty high volume, and right now it's just doing some low volume back tests over here. And this is again like a pretty nice bull flag over here, based on volume, based on the morphology. I think most likely it's going to end up going a lot higher. We'll see though. I mean, obviously you're going to have earnings, you're going to have some unpredictability, things like that. But when price hit like around 20, you actually have a lot of positive news. And I was saying, I don't know, I think it's probably going to back test the 17s. A lot of people are like, are you sure? But they just had like some pretty bullish numbers and news. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's just went a little bit way too far, way too fast, and it's got to cool down, right? I mean, you just can't ride up bullish band up like that forever. You're going to have to cool down here at some point on the weekly. And certainly it's doing that. And I still find this to be very favorable, so I'm going to end up staying in it. Next up, I want to talk about is formerly known as Square, which is Block. Block also has a very, very nice kind of setup here. These are old numbers, don't worry about them. I was pointing out this descending broadening wedge over here when price was down here. And when it looks like this potential pattern could be forming, I pointed out when price is down here, and I was pointing out on X, and it certainly looks like this crazy pattern is kind of working out, isn't it? That depends on where you want to draw the upper line. Some people like to draw it down here and say, oh, look, like you got to break out, now it's doing a nice back test. I want to just be a little bit more conservative. I'm just going to draw it up here because this is also still touching a lot of lines. And the more line, more points you touch, the stronger this pattern is. So I would like to say that the descending broadening wedge is looking kind of like that, and it's trying to form a little bit of a handle over here before breaking above. And right now there's a lot of energy that's being built up over here because the selling volume right now has just really been decreasing over the last few weeks. And this is still a very pretty decent setup over here. This is the weekly chart. If I just put out the bull market support band, you can see that it's trying to use the bull market support band as kind of like a support to kind of push price up higher. Right now price got back above the bull market support band, close beneath that a little bit briefly last week, but again on declining volume. So I really wasn't scared about it. Even if it goes and close below that, I really don't care because this is a very, very nice bull trend that's being formed. 50-week moving average is about to point cross above the 100. And when it does, you're going to end up having a full bull trend, and that hasn't really started happening yet. Can you imagine with 20, 50, and 100 all stacked in the right place? You're really going to talk about some pretty decent move potentially on the way up, right? The couple other things too, if you look at the monthly and trying to extrapolate and try to see what it's doing here on the monthly, if you just look at the Bollinger Band, it's showing you a very, very nice widening of the Bollinger Bands over here. 20-month moving average curling up. It's been serving as support on the way up. You can call this a bullish engulfing candle, but again, I don't necessarily think that is necessarily going to work out. Not all bullish engulfing candle are necessarily going to work out. Like over here, you have one sideways up here, down, and it just went up like that. I on the monthly bullish engulfing candle is not that ornament to me, to be completely honest with you. So, but the trend overall is up because it's been forming higher highs, higher low, higher high, and so far it's looking like the one that's formed a higher low somewhere. So this is actually pretty decent. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that it doesn't quite have that bullish cross stretch quite just yet, but it ended up flipping this tank in the blue line over here from resistance to support so far, and looking like it was just kind of squeezing between tank and indication up here. But overall, the trend looks like it's pretty bullish overall, at least over the last 6 months, at least looking at the 20-month moving average. Everything's pointing the right way. I think it's probably going to end up develop a pretty powerful bull trend on the way up as the 20-month moving average continue to curl up. Right now, it's really just kind of started doing that, right? So I think it's going to need some time, but price has been closing above on the upper part of the Bollinger Band here for months now. So most likely it's going to have some kind of bullish continuation moving up forward. One other thing I want to show for Square, or block formerly known as Square, is the Black Cat Fund. Is that price just kind of been going sideways here for months, whereas inflow from whales have been increasing for months now. There's a little bit of discrepancy in terms of that. Eventually, this energy is going to end up breaking out, and I think whenever this low volume sell down here is done, you're going to end up potentially having some pretty powerful move up here. I do think that again, 2024 could be the year of fintechs. Now, rather than looking at this any further, I want to talk about one of the stock that I've been in for a very long time here, SOFI. SOFI is looking better and better and better. It is exactly doing what we thought that it would do, which is riding along the 20-month moving average as it turned from negative to positive, and is doing these back tests over here, forming these little tweezer bottoms over here. And whenever this tweezer bottom is done forming, I think the price is going to go up a lot higher. Next Monday is going to be earnings for SOFI. If we get the second consecutive quarter of profitability, you might end up having a pretty decent catalyst to potentially push price higher from that. None of this is a guarantee, but it looks like there's a lot of energy that's being built up here, with the 20-minute moving average just kind of nicely crawling up over here. Again, very, very nice tweezer bottoms that are being formed. And price just been kind of crawling on the upper part of the Bollinger Band here for close to a year now. The longer it stays up here above the 20-month moving average, you're building up a lot of energy to potentially push up the price a lot higher. If you look at a way, I like to look at the Heikin-Ashi candle, because it summarizes not just the current month, but also some average from the previous month as well. So it's going to give you a lot smoother candle. You can really tell the trend a lot better. What you're really seeing here is, during this big giant downtrend, you have a lot of sell volume capitulations already happen right around here. And since then, you have all of these little tiny buying pressure going up, selling pressure going down, buying pressure up, selling pressure, not very strong here, buying pressure up. And right now you do initially have some, selling pressure over here, but it's kind of getting a little bit exhausted recently. I do think that we are getting relatively close to where we need to go. And this downtrend over here is really kind of exhausted in terms of its volume. So I think we're getting, a little bit closer and closer every week in terms of having all this energy that's being built up. Price has just basically been oscillating between the Bollinger Band, between the bull market support band over here. Just been oscillating over here. It oscillated around here for quite some time before breaking out. Right now it's doing kind of like the same thing, oscillating around before breaking out, right? And also is forming a very, very nice kind of Eve and Adam pattern. So it looks like it might be forming a little bit of a very nice even Adam pattern over here. I see a lot of correlate between the price action over here and price action over here, but I guess we're still waiting for the catalyst to potentially push us up further, because earnings might be coming soon. Price just been building a lot of energy down here. Again, none of this is confirmed, right? Because price is currently underneath a flattening support band, but that doesn't really mean anything, because price is above, it doesn't really seem to serve as support. Price is below here, it doesn't really necessarily seem to serve as resistance. It's just been oscillating around here, building a lot of energy for it to potentially go up further. And I do think because of volume pattern, I do think that a lot of selling volume is starting to really get exhausted, and it's something might happen soon. I don't know what it is for sure. I can speculate. I think it's going to be bullish, but I don't know for sure. But I am in this. I'm buying this pretty much every week. If you look at the weekly moving average, you're getting pretty close to potentially having a 20 crossing over the 50 here. You're getting close to potentially losing a bull trend here. But you also have very nice separation between the 50 and 100, the back test of the 100 over here. So something's happening. It's tough to be sure exactly to know what exactly is happening, but I'm very hopeful because of the volume signature and because of the fractal that we're experiencing over here. This is just kind of SOFI's personality. Like, this is just what it does. And for SoFi, you really do have to zoom out, in terms of looking at the greater trend, in terms of looking at the 20-month moving average. You also look at the Ichimoku cloud. It did have a bullish crossover here in the last month, and although price is still kind of below the Tenkan Kijun, but I think that this is probably going to end up serving as a magnet to push price up higher. I do think that the bullish cross here means something. I do think that overall over the last 20 something 30 months or so, price is slowly trending up. So overall, to me, this is still a channel over here. I can draw a pitchfork if you like, but this is basically an upgoing channel over here, and I think we basically just test the bottom of this range of this channel on the way up. One other one that is, very fascinating for a lot of people is PayPal. PayPal has been going sideways, has been going down and sideways for a very, very long time. When you're looking at PayPal, though, something very significant has happened, which is it has flipped the Tenkan monthly here from resistance to support this month. And this is basically what bull trends are being made of. And you have to flip the monthly Tenkan from resistance to support. As you can see, that Tenkan was acting as support throughout the entire bull market up here, and it's been serving as resistance throughout the entire bear market down here. So this actually from resistance to support flip over here for the Tenkan is actually very, very key for me as far as I'm concerned. So, and this kind of breakout is happening on a little bit higher volume, and the back test so far is happening a little bit on a low volume. So I think that most likely support's going to end up holding, and you might end up having the Tenkan riding up over time. And when that happens, you're really talking about the resumption of bull trend, although this bull trend might take a little bit longer to kind of get the engine started, if you will. The 20-month moving average is not yet confirmed as a bottom. I like to see it kind of break above and backtest the 20-month moving average. I like to see 20-month moving average becoming a little bit more flat and kind of help to push price higher as a result. And it could take throughout the rest of 2024 to really help build up some momentum to kind of push up the price higher. But so far, I like the way that it looks. Now, if you look at the weekly, something that is very interesting has happened, which is price finally broke inside the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly. And this is basically how a bunch of altcoins are looking before is bullishness. This happens. I was treating a lot of different charts on altcoins, and this is how they looked like a few months ago. And a lot of altcoins has kind of broken out since then. So I think that there's a good chance that PayPal might end up doing the same. Basically just went in and kind of get a little bit closer to the bottom of the cloud. I think it's probably going to hit the top of the cloud. We'll see whether or not it break through and maybe back test it a little bit and then go up higher. But this is a very decent setup here for PayPal. And you can also see another thing too. Look at the bull support band. The bull support band has been trending downwards for like a few years now, all the way from like September, October 2021. This was really the last time there was positive sloping. Since then, it's just been negative sloping throughout the entire 3 years, up until the last few months where it's just kind of flattened. And when it's done flattening, it's now finally pointing up, and right now is serving as support. I think we might be at a very beginning of a bull market over here, despite of the last 3 weeks, being down. So far, it's a pretty, interesting, pretty decent bullish setup over here that I'm seeing. So I just went through 5 fintech stocks. Thank you so much for listening. I'll try to put timestamps on all of these. Have a good one. Bye.